Hello and welcome to another Starcraft 2 beta commentary. I am your host Witty and I am bringing you this 1v1 game played on the map Lost Temple. It's between a couple of friends of mine. That's Praccy as the red Zerg and Hayley as the yellow Terran. Although Hayley is actually Harry, but since the recent ladder reset he changed his name to Hayley instead of Harry because of a recent job interview he's had where the interviewer called him Hayley somehow instead of Harry. Don't know how they managed to get their job. That's a little joke, and that's also I think the other reason was because there was another person with the name Harry or something like that, so it conflicted. But either way, he's called Hayley, so I'm going to try to refer to him as Hayley in this game, otherwise you guys are probably going to get confused if I start saying Harry. But never mind. Let's have a look here. As we can see, Praccy here is going for quite a large economy. He's carrying on, pumping out their drones all the time. Could obviously get a pool at 12 or possibly 14, but it looks like he wants to go for a mass economy, which is usually the best bet for a Zerg, especially in this game so far, because although he doesn't know it, his enemy, Hayley, is cross map, so that's going to give him the most time before his enemy can reach him. And he can suspect that he might be cross map now because he sent his overlord to the recent or the most closest natural main base that Hayley could have been at, and obviously he isn't there, so you can rule out the south base being there, and Hayley is now sending his SEV to the closest point towards him, and he's going to find out that there's no one there either. But when he sees this overlord here, he might be able to make the assumption from that point on that it's most likely come from the west, otherwise that's a long way, especially this early in the game and after a couple and a half minutes, for an overlord to get right from the top here all the way down to there. It's unlikely. So he can make the assumption that Praccy is on the west side. So here we can see Harry's got himself an early orbital command and a mule. That's always a good thing to pump out as soon as the orbital command comes out, whilst Praccy's got himself a fairly early expansion. And well, that's interesting. Hayley's decided to respond to this early expansion with a bunker. That's handy. This is sort of at the right time. I wonder if you came here first, that it would have been even more effective, but we shall see. But that bunker goes up quickly now. Due to the recent patch, I believe it wiped off 10 seconds off the time that it takes to build a bunker, so you can get them even quicker now. So he's seen this. As soon as he noticed that, he started pumping up marines and bringing them towards the place where he's building the bunker. Here he's making a clever move as well, Hayley. He's deciding to use a bit of his resources just to cleverly, even with only one SCV, to build 2 supply depots and just stop those little Zerglings from getting by. Very smart move. That way the Zerglings can't risk it. Praccy can't risk trying to take those Zerglings through and destroying those supply depots, because that bunker can take those Zerglings out so easily. It's just not worth it. He's gonna have to let this hatchery go by the looks of it. That is most unfortunate. What can he do though? That's well played by Hayley at this point, if not a little broken, but in this situation Praccy is just gonna have to sit back for the moment. He's got his little Zerglings come out, and the broodlings come out at the right time there. Look at that, at the same time the Zerglings come out. Little broodlings come out just as the hatchery dies. That helps to distract the bunker fire, since it's very unlikely that Hayley was individually targeting those Zerglings. He might well have been, but what with all the macro and that he's going to have to be doing in his base, it's unlikely that he was concentrating that hard. So here we can see Praccy is now sitting back. He's got his queen. He's spawned lava on the hatchery, which we can see is counting down now. Once that counts down to the bottom, he'll be able to make an extra, how many is it? I think it's 4 lava. Yeah. So an extra 4 lots of lava will pop out. There we go, we can see them now. So he's got a choice of 7 lava instead of the normal 3, which he can now, he's turning them all into roaches, which is a good touch here, because you got to adapt to what your opponent's doing. Zerglings aren't going to do very well against 2 supply depots blocking the ramp, and a bunker comfortably behind, you know, nailing down on the Zerglings whilst they're trying to get through. That isn't going to go well for Praccy if he decides to move there. So he's getting himself these little tank units, roaches. Super, super good still, somehow. Don't know how they've survived the nerf, really. I mean, they got nerfed in like one of the funniest ways where it doesn't really address their issue or their problem whatsoever. They basically reduce the regeneration rate when they're burrowed underground. Well, from what I've seen, that's not really been an issue. The roaches themselves, full stop, are an issue. But I'm not going to go into that too much. He's just left a little circling, which is a good move on the supply depot. Why waste the time now? You want to push out with those roaches as fast as possible before Hayley can come up with an appropriate counter. So he's got a little circle in there. That will bring down that supply depot. That way he's keeping most of his army on the push. Here we can see the command center is actually turned... Oh, sorry, this is just... Yep. Command center is turning into an orbital command. I first thought when I saw that, you can't always tell until it's been built completely, but it might have been turned into a planetary fortress, which is absolutely devastating. It's like a massive cannon tower that does 40 damage per hit. But Hayley must be confident that he's going to be able to survive this, which he's putting up a good fight. The roaches are doing a good job of taking a lot of the damage, but he's blocking off that point, stopping them from getting into his base too easily. Although he hasn't managed to stop them quite well enough, Praccy is now on the push right into Hayley's base. This is not looking good for Hayley. He's getting desperate, bringing out all the SCVs. Brought back the couple of mules because they can't attack, so that was a good touch. Now he's losing a lot of SCVs here, and the SCVs have got less HP during the last patch as well. They used to have 60 HP, now they only have 45, so they're less effective now. So yeah, Praccy's in a very good position here. He's managed to pull this back. It's very nice. He's got his roaches, little hit and run, hit and run. SCVs can't do much against that. It's what roaches are best at, kiting meaty units really. Especially versus SCVs. I mean, they really can't put on much damage versus roaches. Harry's had to wait until he can get more units out of his bunkers and barracks. He's managed to pull just enough to bring down those roaches, but if we look here, Praccy is now comfortably sitting with 22 drones, and Hayley has only got two SCVs now, and one mule. He desperately needs those mules to get into action, which is what's so handy with having these orbital commands, because every 50 energy that they get, you can bring down a mule. Now a mule, say for example an SCV, you're mining your mineral field, that'll take an average of about 3 seconds, and then he comes back with 5 minerals. Whereas a mule, they mine the minerals for about 6 seconds, but they come back with 30. So basically every 6 seconds, if not more, because the SCV's got to actually go back and forth between. But if we just say, for argument's sake, the SCV's bringing in 10 minerals, the mule's bringing in 30 minerals for every 10 that the SCV brings in. So they're very, 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 very good for Hayley at this point in a time where he's just lost all of these, SCVs. He needs to get minerals back up and fast. Here we can see a little Hellion, trying to do a bit of Hellion harass, but it's not going to be very effective against one drone that's sitting in the expansion at the moment. It's good to see that Praccy has managed to get that expansion back, but is he going to lose it? Oh no. He's got a comfortable amount of Marauders and Marines somehow, Hayley has. I'm not sure how he's managed that. He must have had enough resources to do it. But yeah, it doesn't look like Praccy can take that on with what he's got at the moment. He's going to have to let this expansion go again. Now that is unlucky. Little broodlings here, but they're not going to do much. But they can take out that Hellion. All you can do versus broodlings is basically run away, because they only last something like 10 seconds. So there's not really much point killing them. Because if you stand there and kill them, you're going to lose more units than if you were to run away. So you kind of have to sacrifice a unit. You don't have a choice. So they proved some sort of purpose of at least killing one unit, which is nice. Let's have a look here. Praccy's got an Overlord here, just checking if there's an expansion going up at this point. It's always good to have Overlords, like you see another one here. I'll just see if we can see that. I hate it when it turns the camera down. Yes, you can just slightly see the orbital command there with that Overlord. And as far as Harry knows, he can't see the Overlord himself, so he doesn't even know there's one there. So there's something to bear in mind when you're against a Zerg player, is when you're going to make an expansion, assume that if they are a smart player, they're going to basically have an overlord around this area, even though you can't see it unless you've got air units, which you won't be able to get until quite a bit later than, you know, after you've got the orbital command expansion anyway.